Talk Radio 92.3 and AM 760 with Healing with Hypnosis. A half hour to help ordinary, everyday people with ordinary, everyday problems using individual hypnotic techniques. Call with your questions on the Crowne Plaza call-in line. 865-888-TALK. Now, certified consulting hypnotist David Welch from Knoxville Family Hypnosis with Healing with Hypnosis. From the FMT Insurance Studios of Talk Radio 92.3 and AM 760.
This is David Welch with Healing with Hypnosis. This is Talk Radio 92.3 AM 760 here at the FMT Insurance Studios. If you want to call in and talk to us today, you can call in on the Crowne Plaza call-in line at 865-888-TALK. That's 865-888-8255. Like I said, welcome to Healing with Hypnosis. This is David Welch. I'm from Knoxville Family Hypnosis. I'm a certified consulting hypnotist. And today I've got a couple of special guests with me. I've got a client who came to see me for something. Would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Kirsten Domenico, and I sought out David after recently moving to Tennessee to help me overcome my irrational phobia of snakes.
A fear of snakes.
Yes.
The snake lady.
Yes.
And her husband's here too. You want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
My name's Craig. I'm Kirsten's husband, and I've been going through the journey with her.
Can I just make a statement?
Yes.
I don't think a fear of snakes is irrational, Kirsten. I just don't fear that's irrational.
A lot of people think I'm crazy, like, they're not going to hurt you, da-da-da. And, well, in my mind, they're all evil and going to kill me.
Well, I need to seek out David for this, too.
Well, there's a big difference, though, between a fear of snake. I mean, everybody's a little bit afraid of a snake. It's a primal fear. It's perfectly rational for you to have a good, healthy...
Okay, I feel better now.
Healthy relationship with a snake. But if your fear of snakes is so bad that it interferes with the function of your life.
Now, my mom couldn't even look at a picture of a snake. It freaked her out. Is it that bad?
Yeah, I would, every time I get in my car, I'll check underneath all my seats. Before I go to bed every night, I look underneath my bed and my bureaus. I couldn't watch one on TV, see one. One night I was babysitting my nephew, and he thought it'd be fun to bring out a stuffed one, and I proceeded to lock myself in the bathroom and didn't think I'd be able to come out.
Okay, that's irrational.
Yes.
Well, but there's no rationality in phobias. I had a lady that, and I still knew this, I had a lady that came into my office for a phobia, and she had the same fear, but it was for moths, and she couldn't leave her house at night because the moths would gather to her porch light. So she was basically a prisoner. She couldn't go outside in the evening. Now, what made you decide to look for a hypnotist, and what were you expecting when you came to see me?
Well, I've always been petrified of snakes, but we moved from New Hampshire, and you really just don't see them that often. And if you do, they're rather small. And then I knew when moving to Tennessee that it was a warmer climate, and I had done research, and I knew the different kind of snakes you guys had, and I'd probably run into them more often than back home. So within about a month of being here, I saw 2 in 1 week. And one was on a bike path that I love doing my workouts on and going for walks on. And once I saw him there, I stopped my walks. Craig and I were hiking, and there was one on our hiking path. And so I was like, well, that's it. I must make it back down the path. I literally had to hold on to Craig to have him guide me out. And I said, this is ridiculous. So off and on, I thought about the hypnotherapy thing. I just didn't know how to go about finding it. And so I started to do research and learned what a difference there was between a hypnotist that you go and with a bunch of girlfriends and see, and an actual hypnotherapist who specialize in this, they get educated in this. And so I just read what to expect, what their goals were with you as a patient. And the more research I did, your bio came up, and, I just instantly felt comfortable just from being on your website, And then after talking to you on the phone, I just really felt good that this was going to work.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that. What were you expecting to happen when you came into the office?
I don't know. I do know that from what I had read on other sites that some hypnotherapists think that it's a good idea to confront the person with their phobia on that first visit to gauge how phobic they are. and then at the end of the sessions, bring the whatever it is back. So my fear was going to be that you thought it would be nice to have a real snake there, just to gauge, how afraid is this girl really? So I know that was a fear that you put aside immediately. Really, what I was worried about was that because of my strong personality, that I wasn't going to be able to get into a hypnotic state. So I think that was most on my mind. And the fact that you had made it seem like it was going to be so easy to get over it, that was a little skeptical. But after that first session, I just knew that I was on the right track. I was pretty impressed.
And I actually did do something very similar to that, except instead of actually having a snake, I just imagine that you see a snake, and then on a scale of 1 to 10, emotionally, where does that put you on that scale?
Right.
And you were saying that you were at 8, 9, 10,
oh, yeah,
15,
definitely.
20.
I mean, I didn't used to, people couldn't talk about them around me. I'd be like, don't say that word. I'm going to have nightmares. Just don't even say that word. So, yeah, definitely on the first visit, I was like, all right, do we have to talk about it quite so much, mention it? And I even remember going on to my first session and, getting those heebie-jeebies that I would get just thinking about them, But even by halfway through that visit, after you got me out of therapy and you had me rethink stuff, it had already lowered, significantly. I think I had said a 5 or a 6, out of a 10 plus.
And cutting it in half in the first session is pretty good. And you really were terrified of snakes. You couldn't look at pictures of them,
no.
Or if they came up on TV, or just having people talking about
no.
it.
Well, I think the mere fact she's sitting here talking about it now is proof that that first session worked.
I know.
Well, she's actually been through all 4 sessions. Definitely what I consider to be a really successful outcome with you. If we did this the other day, if you imagined the scariest snake that you could imagine, and that you were holding that snake, on a scale of 1 to 10, emotionally, where does that put you?
Right. And I was like, I really don't feel much.
So
impressive.
Yeah.
That is impressive. That's just a really successful outcome. What did you know about hypnosis when you showed up? The actual hypnosis itself?
I really didn't know a lot because I think that, especially from talking to family and friends who knew I did this, a lot of people looked at me like I was a little bit crazy, that I was pursuing this, because I think that they all thought of this person with this little watch going tick-tock, tick-tock, you're getting sleepy. So I was very curious and unsure how the hypnotist was actually going to put me into that hypnotic state naturally, So, yeah.
I actually do that sometimes, but I do it for children because they've seen it on TV, and that's what they think hypnosis is going to be. So they'll come in, and I'll dangle something in front of them and go, okay, you're hypnotized. Now close your eyes. And then I'll start doing the hypnosis with them. They just get what they expect out of it.
I probably would have fallen for that, too. I would have done that.
Maybe you would have. So you're not checking under your car seats for snakes now?
No, it doesn't even cross my mind. So it's not even something I'm like, all right, my seats. Nope, I'm not going to do it. I don't even think like that. I just get in my car and I go.
So you would say that hypnosis then has been pretty successful for you?
Oh, for sure. And it's honestly been like a weight lifted off of me because I love the outdoors. We moved here to go hiking, to be outside. And I just knew after that week of running into 2 in 1 week that if I didn't address this, it was going to limit me of why I came here.
And you said that it was actually keeping you from going outside. You're
right.
Almost becoming a recluse.
Right. I didn't want to do, it's funny, not so much a recluse because we would still go up in the mountains and stuff, but to go on trails and stuff, I was sketchy about doing, which now I don't, I haven't done it yet, but.
And you were more focused about looking down than you were about looking around you.
Right.
So I think that was really.
Get a little bit closer to your microphone.
I just think that at that point in time, you were looking down at your feet, looking for snakes, as opposed to your surrounding and really enjoying nature.
And more concerned about whether or not there were going to be snakes than enjoying what it was that you were doing.
Right.
But this is Healing with Hypnosis. We'll be back here in just a moment. You're listening to Talk Radio 92.3 and AM 760.
Snakes. Why did it have to be snakes?
Asps.
Hi, this is David Welch with Healing with Hypnosis. This is Talk Radio 92.3 and AM 760. I'm back with my guests today. So tell me, what did you think about the process of hypnosis?
I think that it's amazing, and I feel like it gave me a part of my life back that I never had, period, not since I was little into my whole adult life. It's almost like, I don't want to say reborn, but I just have this new side of myself that I didn't have before, and not that I'm saying that I want to run into a field of snakes, and this is going to sound strange, but I'm looking forward to my first outdoor encounter, and seeing one either on a hike or whatever, and just seeing how my reaction is now versus what it would have been a month or so ago, And my biggest thing is that I loved educating people around me about it, because at first they looked at me like I had a million heads that I was even doing this. A lot of people don't even know that it's an option for them.
You ought to try doing it and seeing how people look at you.
But being
a hypnotist.
Oh. Like when I looked at you and you told me it was going to be like a magic trick, and I was like, I don't think so. But it really kind of did feel like magic. And I just think it was impressive that even when I wasn't in your office and I would go home and I'd be doing my breathing techniques and I would put myself in scenarios, almost kind of like preparing myself for when I am going to be not under your tutelage anymore. So I would be like, what are you going to do if, you walk out there and there's one on a lawn, So I think visualizing is a very key component to this whole thing working.
And that's one of the reasons that it works so well for you, too. There's a lot of people that'll come into my office and they expect hypnosis is going to be like, I've got a magic wand, right, and I just tap you with it, and whatever your problem is gone. But there's actually a lot of work that you have to do for yourself, and if you're willing to do the work, that's a big difference between people that are successful and the people that aren't.
Right. I think the biggest mistake somebody could make going into hypnotherapy is kind of thinking like that, because you have to be willing to face your fear on kind of like a raw, vulnerable level. And I think that would be just going from my experience, if somebody else came in with whatever it being a phobia of, putting yourself in your mind with your phobia and facing it head on is just as scary, I think, if you saw the thing in real life, So you do have to think of it as it's not just your responsibility as my hypnotherapist, but that it's a kind of team effort, really.
Yeah, but we're a team. That's how. Now, when you came in, you couldn't see a snake on TV. You couldn't read about them.
Nope.
You couldn't
picture.
You told me you knew that your first big breakthrough was when somebody accidentally texted you a picture and it was a snake, and you went, ooh, and you just forwarded it on.
Yeah, I know my parents almost died, but our neighbor, our soon-to-be neighbor, sent me this giant freaking snake picture, and I was like, wow, that thing's huge. And I'm like, then without even realizing it, I forwarded it to my parents. I'm like, look, they just found the snake up where we're going to be living, and oh, hey, wait a minute, can you believe I'm forwarding it to you? And they called me. My mom's like, oh, you're going to be like my little snake charmer. But my parents, I used to make my dad come in my room every night and look underneath my bed and ask him, are you sure there's none in the house? It was like a big thing that's owned me my whole life,
And this really was a lifelong problem for you.
Oh, definitely. Yep.
Even since you were a little kid.
Oh, yeah. For as long as I can remember.
Well, would you have any advice for anybody else that had the same kind of problems?
I think that if you have the ability to meet with a hypnotherapist, such as yourself, like an actual professional who's educated in this, go for it. It's worth it. It makes such a difference in your life. And this wasn't something that that I would think, oh, gee, I was only afraid of it if I was going on a hike. They were always on my mind. It was just like something you dragged with me every day of my life. And I don't think people who don't have phobias realize that. I'm not only afraid in the moment. It's like anytime I'm going to be outdoors, it's this whole ritual in my head of, is this going to happen? Da-da-da-da-da. And it's really like a weight around you that pulls you down, and I don't have that weight anymore. So I would say if you do have such a phobia like this, it's it's a legit thing, the hypnotherapy, and I mean, I just think it's the best thing I ever did.
What was the hypnosis like for you?
It was pretty amazing, actually, because I have a strong personality, which I told you, and I'm not one who could ever meditate or whatever. So going under hypnotherapy with you, it was amazing because even though you're facing your fear, you're calm at the same time. So it's a very calming situation, and I think that makes me more open to putting myself in my scenarios with you because I was in such a relaxed state. You're not in a panic state. You're not in a fearful state. You're in this calm state that you have control of. And I think that's the other thing. It's not like I think people think that you're in control of them, so they can't control their fears if they're under, and that's not true at all. I felt in control at all times.
Yeah, a lot of people think that hypnosis puts you into a state like you're a zombie.
Yes.
And it's completely different, isn't it?
Yep, completely different. Like I was aware of everything, but very calm.
And you're in control.
Yes, absolutely.
And just the knowledge that if I'd have said something that you didn't like, or it was going in a direction that you didn't want it to,
you set me up with a safe place that I could go.
Yeah, or if you wanted to, you knew that you could have brought yourself out of hypnosis anytime that you wanted
exactly.
to. It's not like I had you in hypnosis and I was keeping you there.
Right, so if I got trapped in my fear, I don't know, I couldn't get away, you know?
That's pretty good. But so you can like see snakes on TV now. You can read about them. You're even researching about snakes, reading on them.
Yep.
Legitimately going out and looking for snake information on your own as opposed to trying to avoid that information.
Exactly. Now. And then just like the other day in your office when you showed me the video of the poor little guy playing dead, this is going to amaze a lot of people, but I actually felt bad for that snake trying to play dead so hard as he was. And I never thought I'd see that, but I was able to watch the whole video. And that to me, I mean, I went from being afraid of stuffed snakes to being able to watch a video of one.
Yeah, we've got a snake called a hog snake. And when they're startled or afraid, they'll play dead. They'll roll over. And you can actually take them and flip them up, and they'll roll right back upside down again. And you can just keep turning them over, and they'll roll over and over and over again. And I showed you a video. This is a couple of minute long video.
Yep.
And when you first came into my office, there's no way in the world that you'd have watched a 2-minute long snake video.
No.
So you can see pictures of snakes. You can watch videos of snakes. You don't have your snake dreams anymore.
No, it's strange. I used to always have, like, if us talking about them would guarantee me I'd go home and have a nightmare. And as I told you, I had a dream the other night that I was by water on a river, and in the past, that means that snakes would have been in trees and all around me, and there was no snakes. And then last night, I had a dream that my nephew was in a river, and there was a snake, and my dad and I were actually just telling him to kind of back out of the river. And I could see the snake, and I watched it swim past him. Now, old Kirsten, that dream would not have gotten any further because I would have been running for the hills. So, I mean, that's a big thing for me.
Well, when you first came into my office, we couldn't have had this conversation that we had this afternoon. Like right now, you couldn't have talked about snakes like this.
No, if you asked me to come on the show a month ago, I would have said that you were crazy.
Just because you didn't want to talk about snakes.
No, yeah, the word or anything. I felt like the funny thing is, like, if you were talking about snakes with me, I'm like, great, now I'm going to see one because you brought it up, and now I'm going to see one, or I'm going to dream about them.
And the whole snake thing is pretty much gone.
Yep. I mean, I don't like them. I think they're still, I hate the way they move, and I don't think I'll ever be friends with one, but it's definitely not going to keep me from wanting to go on a hike on a beautiful day or walk through a field of grass.
And expectations are a big part of it. You know, we had to talk about this in my office the other day. You didn't come down to make you like snakes.
Right.
You came down so that snakes didn't interfere in the quality of life that you had.
Correct.
So, you know, if you don't like snakes, or if you saw a snake and it made you jump a little bit, there's a big difference between just the normal fear of snakes that everybody innately has and just constantly being preoccupied with them, being terrified of them and having them affect you.
Right. Like now, if we were on a hike and I saw one, I'd probably jump and startle just like I would if like a lizard or a frog jumped in front of me. But it's not going to be like it was a month ago when I saw one on a trail and I had to hold on to Craig's shorts from behind to get out of the trail.
Well, phobias don't have to make any sense.
Right.
It's just an irrational fear. I think I told you that I had a client that came in and she had a terrifying fear of moths. She couldn't leave her house. She was just afraid of moths. So it's not just for the fear of snakes. It's for really any phobias.
Oh, absolutely. I would say that's the other thing, too. Like, I think that people are embarrassed to admit they have phobias, or they feel like something's wrong with them. And talking to you, you put my mind at ease, realizing that there's all kinds of phobias out there. And I don't think anyone should feel weird or ostracized for that. And if you have the option to conquer that phobia so you can have a better life, I would say just it's worth it to yourself and in your everyday life, and especially if it's restricting you from things you love.
Well, I'm glad that it worked out so well for you, and I hope other people will take your advice and consider using this. This has been Healing with Hypnosis. I'm David Welch of Knoxville Family Hypnosis, and this is Talk Radio 92.3 and AM 760. I hope to see you again next week.